Hello and welcome to Can't Find My Way Home, the podcast where expats from around the globe talk about the music and art scene in their adopted home. I'm your host, Craig. In this episode of Can't Find My Way Home, I spoke with Zahra Jaan from her home in London. Zahra takes us through her expat journey of several years living and working in Seoul, South Korea, on to graduating with an MA in Sustainable Textile Design and then working as a licensed designer for Disney and Warner Brothers amongst many others in London. We get into Zahra's new business, JaanSmithStudio, and how motherhood has helped her spark new creative ideas and energy. Her concept is to produce children's wall art, incorporating bold, playful, colourful imagery, and it looks fantastic. There's chat about why Instagram is a melting pot of inspiration and how time-consuming it can be. But we give you a couple of hacks to help you along the way. There's chat about where Zahra gets her inspiration from and which artists she really admires. Finally, Zahra shares her hopes and aspirations for the business in the months ahead and getting paid to watch movies during your working day. Without further ado, Zahra Jaan. Joining me today is Zahra Jaan. Zahra, it's nice of you to join me.
It's lovely to join you, Craig.
Today we're going to talk about your latest project and one or two other things in between, but let's start with your expat journey. You know, how did you get to where you are today?
So it was a really long journey to get to where I am career-wise. When I first went to uni, I studied fine art, which is kind of related to what I do, but it was so broad a subject, which is actually the reason why I chose it, because at that time I was 18, didn't really know what I wanted to do, but knew that I loved art and design and being creative generally. So I didn't really want to narrow down my options too much, because if I chose a specific design course, then it would mean I'd have to follow that path. So I chose quite a broad course, fine art. But then after graduating, I was just so bewildered by all the options of career opportunities that I could possibly have, and didn't know what to do. And so that was when I fled off to Korea to kind of avoid that decision for a few years. Well, actually, originally I only wanted to go for a few months, but I just loved it there so much that I ended up staying 4 years.
This is usually the case, right? It's this is more the norm than the exception. I mean, I said this.
Yeah, you just don't realize
17 years for me, so it's
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just loved it there so much that I just, ended up staying 4 years. And it was only after Korea that I really started to think about what I wanted to do career-wise, because obviously in Korea we were teaching English. And although I loved living there, I just knew English teaching wasn't for me, because I wasn't creative enough and I wasn't able to do things I loved on a daily basis, like illustrate
creative
or draw.
In another way, though.
Definitely creative in another way, but not being able to draw and illustrate all the time. I was kind of like, So after Korea, I then did a couple of design internships and then an MA in textile design, which is sustainable textile design. And then it was after that my career really took off in design, and I became a licensed designer. So that meant I was designing garments for the high street using all licensed products. So like, Disney, Warner Brothers, music licenses, like, the Ramones is like the biggest selling license, for example, like putting their designs on t-shirts and garments for men's and women's wear. And then here I am now after mat leave with my own company.
Excellent. And what kind of time frame are we talking about when you were in South Korea to leaving and then doing your internships and that? What kind of time frame is that?
Well, it's been, so I'd say probably I've been working as a designer for about 9 years. Was it 7 years? We got back from Korea in 2011. And since then, I kind of immediately started a design internship with a jewelry designer, Bex Rocks. And during that time, that's when I did my MA in sustainable textile design, because I kind of knew I wanted to go into some kind of print design, because I was really, all of my work has always been like focused around imagery, bold colors, you know, cool graphics. So jewelry design wasn't quite hitting it for me because it wasn't as imagery based as I needed it to be. And then I got my first job in license design in 2014. So in this particular field, it's been about 6 years of working in that, but then there was 2 years before then, so about 8 years of working in design, and going from job to job to job as well. I went to quite a lot of jobs. Like my first job, I was working as a print designer for licensed garments for doing mainly ASOS. So I don't know if you know the online store ASOS. So all of their design, license design, I was looking after. And then I went on to doing Primark, which was kind of a contradiction towards my sustainable fashion degree.
You got to pay the bills, though, yeah?
Yeah, exactly, got to pay the bills. But actually, you know what? It's interesting because you learn so much when you're actually in the field as opposed to when you're just studying it, you know? And sustainable textile jobs are really, really hard to come about. So actually, to be in a job like that actually opened my eyes much further, because I got to go and visit factories, and I got to go and see actually how things are done from the other end, and maybe put forward some of my feedbacks on how I thought they could change things, you know? So I mean, it wasn't that in a lot of ways venomous.
In a lot of ways, did that complete the circle for you then, you know, when you actually got to see it from another point of view?
Yeah, kind of. Because you see things from another point of view. You realise that change is really, really hard to come about, you know, like especially in the consumer world where consumer patterns have been building for such a long time. You can't just, I mean, there are some shops who are really trying, like H&M, you know, to have like a conscious collection, but it's not going to be an overnight change. You realize that when you're working in it, you know, and any kind of little thing you can do to chip away to kind of change people's attitudes from the inside, I feel is helping anyway. So I didn't feel that bad about it, you know.
Getting back to the design part then, how would you describe yourself? Are you more a visual artist, or it's sustainable? I'll let you explain what you are.
Yeah, I'm definitely a visual artist, and sustainability is something that I try to keep core to the work. Like after I did my MA, doing my MA just really educated me a lot on just how unsustainable fashion in particular is, you know. So much gets sent to landfill, especially with like fast fashion. You know, fast fashion has become so huge over the last couple of decades. People wear something they buy around 5 times, and then it just gets sent to landfill basically.
That's it, yeah.
And because they're so cheap as well to purchase, they can't even be resold, because, you know, like back in like the early 90s and the 80s, you'd go to charity shops to like pick stuff up. I used to always go to charity shops to buy like cool old vintage stuff, but the things that are being sold in fast fashion are not even worthy of a charity shop, because you could probably buy them cheaper in the actual original store than you could in a charity shop. And because they're so low quality, people don't really want to repurchase them. So they do end up in landfill. So that was really, really eye-opening for me during my MA. And that's why during my MA, I created a collection of sustainable garments which were biodegradable. So the idea was that they were paper dresses, and the idea was they were all biodegradable. And, you know, you would buy them in biodegradable plastic packaging and wear them a couple of times and then throw them away, but they were biodegradable. So, you know, we wouldn't be ending up in landfill or anything like that. So, yeah, that was the idea, to do something like that. And because I think it's really hard to change consumer patterns. Like you can say, oh, you know, you can create like a really expensive garment that people will wear over a longer period of time, but that's harder to do because consumers are just used to buying things like every couple of weeks or months for like new events that they go to, you know. That's going to be really hard to change. I think it's easier to give them an option to do that, but then chuck it away in a clean way.
I mean, for someone like me, Zahra, who's a complete outsider in the world of fashion or design, what kind of price point would you sell something that you created? For example, you created for your master's degree project. What kind of price
Yeah.
point is that? Because this is what I think what people are a bit afraid of. They might think when you hear words like biodegradable, they think, well, it must be more
Yeah.
expensive then, right? It gives you a
Yeah.
different kind of connotation.
Yeah. Well, I never, I never prepared it ready to go for retail. But in an ideal world, I would like to price them, especially since they were paper dresses and biodegradable and made to be thrown away, at a fast fashion price point. So that would be, under £10, something which is really, really affordable, something that, you can purchase every couple of weeks for a new event, or even like a festival. I thought a festival could be like a perfect kind of event for buying a dress, like people go out and buy wellies and cool outfits for like Glastonbury and the festivals and stuff, and then sometimes don't wear them ever again, or they end up in a charity shop not ready to be bought. But I thought that could be a really cool idea to just have people buy like a cool paper dress that like has their favorite band on it, or has just like some cool design related,
There's a
and
lot of
then throw it away.
possibilities.
And people aren't going to spend like hundreds of pounds on that. So yeah, a good cheap price point for a dress that you're going to throw away, definitely under £10 would be great. I've always worked in all of the jobs I've done, like working for ASOS and Primark and Disney, the price point of the garments has been quite low, so it's been like under £12 a tee, because accessible. And I really do believe that design should be accessible to everyone. Like, I'm personally not someone who wears like really expensive labels or expensive brands. I'm inspired by their design. I love seeing their catwalk shows, but I'm not a purchaser of those brands. I can't really justify that expense. So I do believe that fashion and high-end fashion should be accessible to everyone, but it's just about finding a way to do it in a clean way, that we don't end up in a world full of just rubbish and landfill.
Yeah, that's a big problem, right?
Yeah.
This is your commercial background and stuff, and then you had
Yeah.
a break when you had your son, and now
Yeah.
you're venturing out into the world of business on your own. Why don't you tell us about your new project?
So it's been a long time coming, because I've worked for a couple of different companies now, like I work for ASOS, for Primark and Disney. Really, really, really enjoyed working for Disney. But while I was working with them, I always had a niggling at the back of my head. Like, I've got all of these ideas that I want to execute. And when you're working for someone else, you're working to someone else's brief, basically, so, you can have your own handwriting as much as you can to a certain degree, but at the end of the day, you're executing someone else's idea. When I became a mum, I went on mat leave from Disney, and I had like, many, many months of just like rocking Teo to sleep, nappy changes, very, very, very exhausting days. And I just thought, I really need something to just like get me back into being creative, just like a break away from it all, because it's kind of like therapy for me in a way, like doing art, drawing something or painting something, or doing a picture. It's like a therapy,
I totally understand. It's the same playing music or whatever people's avenue is, whether it's writing or telling jokes, or whatever their way out is. It's therapeutic, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just what I needed at that time specifically. So it was really exhausting to look after Teo all year on my own. So there was hardly any time to really do anything. But at the times, what I found was that I had such small pockets of time around when he was napping or after he'd go to sleep, that I actually became really, really productive, because suddenly I realized, oh my God, I've only got an hour to basically do my own thing. So then I was just like, creating like really cool drawings within like an hour, which wasn't happening before Teo, because it would take me an hour to like get into the vibe of what I wanted to do. So
then the moment's gone,
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I've got an hour. He's going to
think I might take a nap myself,
Yeah. Been wanting to do it for a while, since last year. I've known Etsy for a while, and I thought I could probably sell on Etsy, because I've seen other things that other people are doing on Etsy, and I really like the stuff that loads of people are doing, and I'm thinking to myself, I think I can do something like that. So originally, to be honest, my idea was just to create like digital images and not actually sell hard prints, because I see a lot of people doing this on Etsy. So they're literally just selling like a JPEG file, and the person buys it and then prints it out themselves, which is a pretty cool idea because you obviously don't have to have any inventory to start up, and then people can get the artwork immediately, and then they can either print it at home or go to a print shop and print the file. I did open a store like that, but what I was finding was a lot of people were just saying, I'd really prefer an actual hard printout. So I found like a really cool printing company online who all print to order. So what my business is basically I do specifically children's wall art and some adult stuff as well, and it's just really bold, playful, colourful imagery. Lots of the pieces can be personalised, so you can have your child's name on the piece of artwork, and so it's all print to order as well. So yeah,
and the name of your business is
yes, the name is JaanSmithStudio. So that's my surname, Zahra Jaan Smith, double-barreled since I married my husband, Tormund Smith. And so yeah, JaanSmithStudio.
And how is it going so far? So before we kind of started recording, we were talking about how long it's not just the idea process of putting it into place, but how long has it been, let's just say, from when it actually started, when you pressed the play button, and how long's that been?
Yeah. It's been a while coming. It's been over a year, because last year actually a notification of it's been a year since I bought the domain name, and that was when I was like, oh god, I need to do something with it, because I hadn't actually made a website at all. So I bought the domain name for JaanSmithStudio like a year ago, and I had this idea for a year. It's been 6 weeks since I've had the website and Instagram page live, but it's been over a year that I've been planning the business. So it's taken a while to get here, because I really wanted to get the designs right, like I really want to be really, really happy with what I'm selling, and really, really happy. And, as an artist, you can do stuff and then just the next day wake up and just hate it. And that's what I did. I did a collection last April, of what I probably did about 40 artworks. And then just a week later, I looked at them all and I thought, I hate these. I just hate them. I don't want anybody to see them. I don't want anybody to buy them.
Oh, man.
And I just thought, no. If I'm doing this, I've got to spend a lot of time creating designs that I actually like, that I would buy, that I would have in Teo's room. Because otherwise, no one else is going to believe in it if you don't believe in it, So from then, I just kind of spent a lot of time making the designs. And what actually took the longest time was orchestrating the photography of all of the designs, for the Instagram page and for the website, because I knew that I had to, the photo shoots of the interiors had to look really, really good in order to, try and show people how it could look in a space. So that actually took quite a while. So it took about 6 weeks to do all of the photographs.
Because it looks fantastic, though. I mean, it
was really fun to do. I really enjoyed it.
If your point is to catch people's eyes or people's attention, then I think you're onto something, because it's bold and bright. And, all of those things that you described, So it's
I really enjoyed doing it. I think that does show. And it's like I was quite surprised, because I actually enjoyed the bits other than designing quite a lot, because I loved doing the designs and making the artwork. But when I'd finished that, I had to do all of the photography and editing photos, which took a hell of a long time. But and I just thought, oh, that's all the laborious stuff. But actually, that's the stuff that I really, really enjoyed, like setting up like cool little interiors and like buying cute things for Teo's room. And I doubled up by keeping most of the stuff for the photo shoots for Teo's room. So
there's a lot of small boy type toys as opposed to maybe less female toys, or it's a little.
Well, see, that is an interesting point, Craig. You see, because we're living in a world of like things being gender neutral now. Okay. And we were actually having this conversation. I was having this conversation with Tormod, my husband, about Teo, our son. And, I've had this conversation with quite a few parents about, do you have gender specific toys for your child, or are they all gender neutral? And Teo doesn't actually have any dolls. I think I do need to purchase a doll for him just to see how he reacts to it. But I'd say apart from that, all of his toys are quite gender neutral, They don't, he hasn't got like a whole load of like trucks or vans or stuff like that. It's just kind of like stuff that, are both applicable to boys and girls. But interestingly, he's just gone for the trucks. Like he is obsessed with anything with vehicles. And I'm like, I thought gender wasn't a social construct. Maybe it is, because I haven't pushed any of like this like boy stuff on him, but like he suddenly seems to be obsessed with all of this kind of like boy stuff. But no, going back to like the gender neutral stuff, like we kind of want to just have him exposed to all kinds of toys and let him choose, you know, like not be specifically like you can't wear pink and you can't play with dolls and this,
put in
that,
one box instead of the other.
Yeah, putting in one box, like just want him to basically decide what he wants to play with, what he wants to like and what he wants to not like, because I think the issue of gender is really, really interesting and current in the society today, you know.
Exactly,
and
yeah.
Gender being a social construct, it is interesting to see like how much of it is innate and how much of it is actually a social construct.
I mean, when kids watch a Disney film like The Little Mermaid or Aladdin or Frozen or whatever, do they associate it they just associate it as a film, you know? It's not really about, they maybe understand the characters are male or female, or mermaids or whatever, but it's just a film, right? It's just part of enjoying it.
Well, when I worked at Disney, we used to be able to see screenings of movies all the time. There was a cinema in the building. It was so cool.
Perks of the job, eh?
Yeah, literally. And I was like, this is while I was working, you know, like during work hours, we used to have to go and watch movies for our job. It was blooming great.
The good old days.
That was literally the best job of my life. But yeah, I took some of Tormund's and my little cousins to one of the screenings, which was Moana, which was like this one of Disney's newest princesses. She's a Polynesian princess, so she's like the protagonist of the film. And they were a couple of boys, so it was two little 8-year-old boys, and they absolutely adored the film. You know, like they weren't kind of like, oh, this is a girl's film or this, that, and the other. They, you know, they totally got into it. The fact that she was a female protagonist, didn't have any problem with it. So kids really have a concept of gender in terms of what they consume as much as people maybe say they do.
Completely agree with you. Getting back to your project, Zahra, like the JaanSmithStudio.
Yeah.
Where can we predominantly buy? So you were talking about the website?
Yeah, so I've got my website, which is www.JaanSmithStudio.com.
With two A's.
And 2 A's, so JAAN Smith Studio, all one word, .com. And then I've also got Instagram, where you can find me and like chat and send me a message or look at what I've been doing most recently. So the Instagram is at JaanSmithStudio. And, you know, I'm kind of focusing on growing the Instagram at the moment because I know a lot of customers will be able to find me through there. Instagram is such a good channel to be able to find like creative, inspirational things that you kind of like want to follow, and small businesses as well. So yeah, I thought Instagram would be a really good portal for people to find me. And on Instagram, I also just share just general images that I like, you know, not just my own work. Like I've been sharing quite a few books by Black and minority ethnic authors recently, because I really want Teo to, you know, to kind of like be immersed in all different kinds of literature and, you know, see representations of himself in literature and film and art, which is something, you know, with the Black Lives Matter movement at the moment, it's really highlighted how I grew up, which was not really having myself represented in books, children's books or films or magazines or anything, you know, and that's definitely changing now, which is really good with this movement. But I think it's really, really important to push that and to, you know, make sure that my son has a whole array of literature from Black authors, people of colour, so he can see, you know, what multicultural world we live in.
Exactly. And we should say I'm speaking from Dortmund, of course, and you're speaking from?
London, from London, which is our latest destination. Well, it has been our destination for the last 8 years now, after Korea.
I was going to say the plans to move on, but we won't go there yet, right? That's a whole other episode, I think. You know? Yeah. We might need to get Tormund on for that one as well.
Oh, yeah.
Your actual project, though, does it take you long to put the images together, for Instagram? Because one of the things that I quite notice is how time-consuming it is to make a post.
Yeah,
when I see other people's posts, I think, man, they're much better at this than I am, right? How do they get swipe
it's
up and all of this?
surprisingly time consuming. It is. It's really surprisingly time consuming. And to write the copy for the post is really time consuming as well. Yeah, what I usually do is I do it the night before. So I write the copy in notes and then I plan out what I'm going to post the night before. And then I just post it in the morning. So I don't have to think about it while I'm doing it. So with the images for Instagram, I just, while I was doing the photo shoots for JaanSmithStudio, photographing all of my prints and cool interiors that they could slot into, that is when I just took a big backlog of photograph that I kind of just thought was cool imagery and wanted to share on Instagram. And at the moment for Instagram, I've just kind of got a database of all lovely images that I want to share, and then I usually the night before plan what I'm going to post the next day. And also though, but because Instagram is so instant, and social media generally is so instant, you often want to post things which are related to current issues like the recent Black Lives Matter upsurgence or anything like that. So if that's the case, then I'll just I'll use Taya's nap time to make a cool image or to try with something else. Because I'm still at the stage where I'm just trialing everything. And I'm really interested in animation as well. So I'm kind of testing out a few little bits of stop motion animation, which you will see if you go on my Instagram, because I've got a few little stop motion animations on there. Yeah, so I'm kind of just taking it day by day, using a backlog of images that I created before, and then also posting things as I learn them. Like if I learn a new stop motion animation technique, I'll post it the next day. Or it's a way to share your creative work at the end of the day. And I didn't realize until I actually started JaanSmithStudio, how much talent there is on Instagram. There's so much creative talent on there. Every day I stumble across 10 new accounts of cool illustrators I want to follow. It's just amazing.
That's an interesting point there, because when you say about that, I want to follow. How have you found the people following you? I mean, have they come from London? Have they come from,
well, in my insights, because you get insights as a business profile, it says that most of the people are from London. And I've got a few in South Korea, a few fans in South Korea, but I suspect they are the friends I have in South Korea who have followed me.
It's allowed. I think it's okay. Yeah. It's allowed, right? It's
mainly from London, mainly from the UK. I think there's a couple in Manchester as well, and Glasgow. Obviously, we've got a Glasgow connection because my husband's from Glasgow. A few friends there as well. But yeah, it seems to be quite London-centric for my followers. But I have noticed Manchester is creeping up. That was one of the places that I thought, oh, okay. I don't actually know anyone in Manchester, so that must be people I don't know. And it's interesting because lots of the people following me have similar businesses towards me, To me, I find that I'm following people with similar businesses, just to kind of be inspired, see what they're doing, get inspiration. And so that's how I've found a couple of really, really cool artists and businesses, because they've started following me, and I've looked back to see who they are, and they themselves have got some really amazing artwork and imagery. So it's just it's a melting pot of inspiration.
It's a great way of keeping you on your toes, when you think of something, you go, oh, okay, you're not going to blag it, right? You're not going to take it rightly, but you think, okay, that's quite nice. I might think another way of putting something similar into your own concept.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what it is to be an artist, isn't it? You can't be an artist without being inspired by things.
When that day comes, it's another story, right? It's
exactly. So inspiration is all around, and I take inspiration from all these people who are following me and who also are doing their own work. It's amazing to see. And there's lots of specifically mum-centric artists who are doing some pretty cool artwork, and I think being, a mum Instagrammer, you kind of have a camaraderie with the other mum Instagrammer, because you think, you've also done it during the nap time. I know exactly what you're going through. It's nice because people can comment and send you messages. So, people admiring your work, you can have a conversation with them about it. It's not just the website. Have a look at the website and you know, they can have their own thoughts about it. You can actually have an open discussion with people and hear what your people's opinions on your work, which is really, really nice.
Speaking of when you get like some ideas for the future, so you've been going for 6 weeks, more or less, yeah? At this period in time at the end of June, as we record this. What are your plans for the future then? Where would you see it going? Where would you like to see it going? What are your ideas for the future?
I want to be a millionaire. Yeah.
That was a classic Only Fools and Horses line there. Yeah, I'm not mistaken.
This is actually so.
Talking of inspiration.
I use that as a reference. This time next year.
Next year.
I'd like to grow JaanSmithStudio a lot. You know, I've always wanted to have my own business, and so to have it started and have the interest I've had on Instagram has been absolutely amazing, you know, and I'd just like to grow it. I'd like to grow the Instagram following. I'd like to grow the brand. Maybe in the future, perhaps license out the designs or sell in bigger stationery stores, who knows. Alongside that though, I think I'm still not done with my career, because, you know, I'm a licensed designer by trade, designing apparel for the high street, and I do really, really love doing that still. I loved that as a job. I absolutely loved working in that field. You know, lots of people can say that their jobs, they're 9 to 5 and that's it, but it wasn't the case for me. I really, really enjoyed what I was doing, so I don't think that's over for me. And, you know, I'd still like to do that in the future. It's just looking at which opportunity is going to best fit into my lifestyle now that I have Teo. I still want to do that, and I want to grow JaanSmithStudio. It's just about finding a balance between the two, I guess. We're going to have to watch this space, but for now I'm just like, with the lockdown that we've had in the UK, it's been basically impossible for me to do any freelance work, you know, for the stuff that I was doing for Disney or Primark, just because there's been no one to look after Teo, because usually my mum and my auntie would come round and, you know, look after him, and while I work it's not been possible. So I've just kind of like focused on JaanSmithStudio like at my own leisure, you know, because I know that there's no like hard deadlines that I need to get to or anything. So I'm just going to carry on doing that while I can. I'm really enjoying it, and I do hope that it does grow.
Yeah, I mean, I think from tiny acorns and all that stuff, it's I think what comes across though, Zahra, in the way that you're describing your business, is it's not just work, it's more about passion. Like when your work is your passion or your work is your hobby, these things make a huge difference to what you may be, what you're producing or what your content is.
Yeah, totally. Because I've worked in jobs where I've clock watched. I mean, some of those jobs in Korea, I mean, I did like being an English teacher, but I remember there was quite a few times that I'd be watching the clock like, 4:30, come on. And that just doesn't happen. Like when you're working for yourself with JaanSmithStudio, it's the opposite, you know, I'm like running out of time to do all of the ideas that I want to do. And that's the other thing, you know, like I'm quite an immediate person. I need like immediate results. And when I get an idea in my head, like a bee in my bonnet, I just need to do it immediately. So usually like for example, with the Black Lives Matter debate going on recently, with the conversation around Black Lives Matter that's going on recently, I just had this idea that would be really cool to do printables for kids. So a way of like having the conversation with kids, but kind of in a more palatable way for children. So I just thought, it would be so cool to make colouring sheets that were free and accessible to everyone, that parents could print out, had animals going on protests and everyone's equal, and topics about diversity but in a more palatable way. So as soon as I got that idea, I just thought I need to do this right away. So as soon as Teo went to bed, and he's been going to bed really late recently at like 10 o'clock, I just drew a couple of designs up, photographed them, and then posted it the next day. And if anybody's interested, they're all free to download at my website, JaanSmithStudio. And there's 4 colouring sheets about diversity and Black Lives Matter for kids to colour, if anyone's interested. That's what I'm saying. I just like immediate results, you know. So I think that's why working on the computer, creating designs really, really works for me, because when I was studying art, you know, I was using different mediums like oil painting, collage, photography, but they weren't as immediate as designing on a computer, which is what I really, really like, because, you know, if something goes wrong, I can just go edit, undo. Or if I don't like the color of something, I can just really, really quickly and easily just change it. Whereas with oil paintings, you'd like do a couple of strokes that you weren't happy with, and then it was like they're just there to stay unless you like paint, or you take days to paint over them. I was like, oh no, I can't deal with this.
Speaking of that though, artistically, what's your inspiration, or who are you really influenced by? I mean, this might be an ever-changing process going from when you first went to college, uni, or even before that when you got into art in the beginning. Like music and your tastes change, or they develop, or you find out people through Instagram, for example.
Well, that's interesting, like, because it is like music, because over the years there's so many different artists who have been my favorite artists of the time, and up until now it's changing like every day. I mean, I see cool new things on Instagram every day and I'm like, oh my god, I love that. You know, when I was at uni, a guy called Michael Craig Martin was like my absolute favorite artist, and Kitai. But since then it's become a lot more varied what I'm into. You know, I'm into like graphic artists, illustrators. So like someone who I really, really love at the moment is Camille Walala. She's a UK based, she graduated in textile design, but she doesn't specifically do textile design. She's a designer. She does like murals and like big installations on buildings, and she's done like some stationery and stuff. She's got really cool, bold graphic artwork, you know, so like bold shapes, bold colors, really highly graphic work. And I have to say there is a running theme of people that I like, and it's color. I'm just like obsessed with color. So anybody who has like bold, bright, clashing colors, I love. So like my favorite illustrator is Tove Jansson, you know, the Swedish illustrator who did the Moomins. I'm totally obsessed with her. I just love her work so much. Her use of color I just think is amazing. And anyone who has bright colors and bold graphics, I'm into. Like the Japanese artist Takashi Murakami, I love his work as well. Bold graphics, bold colors, that's what I like, that's what inspires me.
Excellent. And this comes across in your own work, I think.
Yeah, color, I don't know, I guess I've just always been very, very much into color, you know, even in my own fashion sense. Like I rarely wear black. I always wear kind of like bright colors, you know, not necessarily that into pattern. Like it could be kind of like block, flat colors. Color, I guess, you know, coming from a Pakistani background, that actually isn't that strange, because color, you know, in textiles in Pakistan, color is huge, you know, like pink and orange specifically.
Yeah, right.
as clashing as you can get it, that's how we wear it, and that's how I like it.
Yeah, that's you got to wear it on your sleeve, right? It's
yeah.
I think that's fine. The importance of social media, I guess we've talked about that today, and your use of social media. So once again, where can we find you? Instagram.
I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but Instagram is probably the best place. So at JaanSmithStudio, Instagram. And that's Jaan, Jaan, Smith Studio. And then usually on my link on Instagram, I have a link to my website, but just in case you don't see it, my website is www.JaanSmithStudio.com. But then if you're only on Facebook, I do have a Facebook page as well, JaanSmithStudio, at JaanSmithStudio, so you can find me there too.
And drop you a line, and if anyone's interested in purchasing anything, or you know, get in touch.
Yeah, and all the prints are all personalized as well. So, you know, if you see something on the site which doesn't have a personalized option, you can just drop me a line on Instagram and just say, I really like this, can you personalize it? And I'd be more than happy to have the conversation, you know. Or if you've got an idea in your head of something you want to do, I could advise as well. So just if you're interested in my work and perhaps want something for yourself or your kids, or a presents is actually the gift market is actually something which I think my work is quite applicable to, because being a mum now, we have to go to quite a few kids' birthday parties or baby showers, and it's quite nice to like give something personal, like a personalized print of the new baby's name or the kid's name. So I think, yeah, if you in need of any gift ideas, then definitely drop me a line or have a look at the website and see if you like anything.
Fantastic, because of course this is the spoken and or mostly this podcast is done in the kind of spoken medium, and we're trying our best to describe a visual thing here. So hopefully between the two of us, hopefully we're getting the message out there. But
yeah,
I'll definitely post all those links on our social media. And
thanks for asking me to do this, Craig. It was fun.
It's been great.
Yeah. All right. Cheers.
We made it to the end of another episode of Can't Find My Way Home. Big thanks to Zahra. You can find the links to her website and Instagram and all the social media on our homepage. Speaking of which, where can you find out more about Can't Find My Way Home? You can find us on anchor.fm. Simply search for Can't Find My Way Home. On Instagram at can't.findmywayhome. That dot makes all the difference. On Facebook at Expat Music Pod, that's all one word. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts from. You'll find us there. We also have videos, playlists, all of that stuff on our YouTube page. Links below. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.